Okay, I've done 38 chains for this big blanket, and I want to show you how you need to start going up with your knitting. So this is chain number 38. So now I'm going to put the loop through here, and I'm going to start pulling it up an opposite direction. So they're about an inch and a half, 2 inches in the loop. I'm going to go through and pull up another loop. And then this is what starts the blanket. So I've done about 13 loops, and then you just keep pulling the loop up. I'll show you. I'll try and hold it up and show you. So I'm going to pull through where my thumb is. About another inch and a half, 2 inches. Just keep pulling the loops up. That's how, and it's going to have two different designs. So on the front, it's going to have the actual knit looking design. On the back, it's going to have like a wavy looking design as the blanket's being made. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I've done 15 loops. I'll keep showing you. I'm grabbing from the very top of the chain that I made. So I'm getting close to the end of my first row. I've done 30 loops up. I'd have to say that this is probably the hardest part of getting these big knit by hand blankets going, is changing the direction and putting the loops going a different direction than how you did your chain. So we are almost at the end, and then I will show you what we do once we get to the end. And I'm still pulling up about inch and a half, maybe 2 inches for the loop. You really gotta make sure to try and stay uniform, because that's what happens in the very beginning. It'll look real tight, and then as your blanket grows and gets bigger, it'll start to look more like a V shape. So it's good to try and keep the loops all the same size, so that way the blanket stays relatively looking like a big square or a big rectangle. Okay, so now I'm at the end, and I'll show you what we do. It's pretty much 2 loops in the end. So you're pulling up your loop, and then it would be just like crocheting. You're grabbing the yarn again, and you're going to put it through the loop to build the chain. And then everything goes this direction. So now that I've pulled this up and I've started the second loop, now I'm going to start looping back this direction. So I had my yarn going one way, so I'll get some more yarn so I can start having it go the other direction. And again, you're going to want to try and stay in the 1.5 to 2 inches on the loop, because this is where the blanket will start to grow, and you'll want to try and keep it all the same size. And then you just pull up the loops. And it's repetition, just all the way back across again. And now that you've got the blanket established with the chain on the bottom, and then this was the first loop going up, now this is the second loop going up, you can see that it's starting to do the blanket pattern. So now it just becomes repetition of pulling the loop through like that and pulling it up. After you do quite a few of these blankets, it just becomes routine and a matter of just going through the loops. It takes probably about 3 hours to do 6 of these skeins if you're going to make a lap blanket. You can make any size blanket that you really want. Depends. Most of my family members like to have oversized lap blankets for the couch. So I try to make mine a little bit bigger. Look at this, the way it was dyed. It's a light pink, but you can tell it looks like it's dirty in a spot because the dye didn't quite get in there. So it's adding some character to the blanket. So what I'm going to do for my niece's blanket is, since she wanted pink, I'm going to add a cream color stripe at the both sides or ends of each blanket to give it some character. So the one thing too that you got to make sure when you're doing this is, like, if you were to look right here, there's a loop here and it looks like it's kind of hidden and it was backed in there, and it's real easy to forget this loop and keep going, and then you would have a loop that's stuck out. So the one thing that you got to do is make sure that you're catching every loop all the way across as you're looping up, and you don't have any, because if you miss a loop, then it's just like crochet or knitting. You got to frog it, go all the way back and get to where you missed the loop to get it in as part of the sequencing of loops. And that's where it's important for counting. So I'm making this blanket 38 loops long, so it's always good to keep checking your count on the loops and making sure that you still have the number that you desired and wanted. So I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to show a few more loops, and then I will restart the video when I'm getting ready to change a color so you can see how I do that. And then I'll show you the progress, because I'm going to probably do about 4 more rows of the pink and get a good chunk of the pink before I do about 3 rows of the cream color to get a stripe going. So I'll show you what it looks like when I get ready to change a color, and I'll show you how to change a color, because it's really easy to do. Okay, I'm nearing the end of, it looks like the 4th row. Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 5th loop, 5th row. And I'm going to show you how I change colors. Now, in the past, when I first started learning how to make the big blankets, I would, sorry, I had to pause the video again. I keep getting interruptions from my husband and my children. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up this last loop here, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut right here, about here. I'm going to cut it, and then I'm going to discard the pink over to the side, and I'm going to fuse the 2 pieces together. So let's give this a shot without. It's hot for sure without burning myself. And see, then it just makes a cleaner connection where it's all stuck together. In the past, I've done loops and tied it together, but then you're left with leftover yarn, and then you have to, just like any crochet or knitting project, you have to loop it back in order to hide the excess here. So then, as you see, I'm going to just pull up the next loop, and you can tell that the color is now changing to the cream color right here on the loop. I know it looks upside down and backwards. I will show you what the product looks like when it's done, but now you can see that after I have connected it here on the side, it's holding really good. And so I'm just going to continue on with the loop, and then that way the blanket looks nice and clean. You don't have any frayed edges that come untucked in the blanket. You see a lot of people who make the blankets have been doing that with fusing the yarn together, and it just makes it more of a cleaner look, more of a professional look. So I'm gonna do about, I have found with blankets to give it like an accent color like this, I found that I like to do a couple of rows of a different color. Let me see if I can pull it this way so you can see what it looks like. So there's all the loops. So I did about 5 loops up, connected a different color here, and I'm probably going to do about 3 rows of loops with this color to give it a nice little cream colored stripe. And I'll show you what that looks like after I get done with the 3 rows. So I wanted to show you what it looked like. I'm on row 3 of just pulling loops up and continuing on with the row. It's looking really good. I like this nice little chunk of white that I have going on in here now for the blanket. And as you can tell, it's starting to do the 2 different patterns. You can see it better. So here's the pink with the white stripe that I'm doing. And then on the back, you can see the pattern on the back forming now. It's kind of like a really neat wave looking pattern. I found that when I've made blankets with the greens and the blues, it looks really pretty, like it's ocean-like, and a lot of my family members like the greens and blues together when I make it. So I'm going to do just 3 rows. I think that that's a nice little chunk of cream color in with the pink, and then I'm going to make the rest of the blanket pink, and then on the very other end of the blanket I'm going to do another white stripe, and then I'm going to finish with a pink border on the end, and I will show you what the end product looks like. So that's probably going to be a part 3 to this video, since we're on part 2 right now. And I'm trying to break up the video into some different sections, and that way you can see what the finished product looks like. Okay, so we'll see you for part 3.